Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Mark Doxey, Sleeping Warrior, Chocolate Sayin, and Arwin. How are you all doing?
Yo.
Ah, damn it.
All good, all good.
I thought we might actually be silent this time.
No, I had a technical issue yesterday, and I thought that was what was
Yeah, I
going on.
know, but it would be fun if we then kept silent this day.
Yeah, it's been happened already before, Arwin, so
Didn't work.
no points for originality.
Yeah, but good
Find
afternoon,
out what the
everyone.
reason was yesterday, Nathan.
Say again?
Did you find out what the reason was for it doing what it did yesterday?
No idea. No.
But you're happy that there wasn't a conspiracy to make you feel as though you were going daft. We weren't gaslighting you.
No, I don't think that was the case, because you could just tell, well, I got no intro was kind of a giveaway that you actually hadn't heard a word I'd said. I didn't check it back. Maybe the audience didn't hear it. I have no idea.
Oh, well. So we're hoping that Ranty joins, because Ranty's made a video yesterday and uploaded it today that basically compounds the issue that we've been having with the turbines. But in the absence of Ranty being here, I think it's probably better that we don't address the turbines yet to give him a chance to join. And if he hasn't joined after a period, then we'll deal with it in his absence. But at least if we delay it until he joins or not joins, then at least I think that's probably a good way to go. Would you all agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So what I'd like to do...
But as you've just mentioned it, wow. I contacted him on Skype immediately. I was like, wow, what a great video.
Yeah, it compounds the issue so that there is no doubt. This element of accumulated drop has to be there. You cannot have the hubs all in a straight line when you go beyond a certain distance. Where that distance is, yeah, okay, you could argue that over to 11 and 12, 13 miles might not be enough distance, but 20 is. So, well, yeah, it's fab. I think we'll come back to it later though, because I think it's really worth Ranty being here so that he can present it. But if he doesn't turn up because he's out busy doing stuff, then so be it. We'll deal with it in turn.
So you had a hangout yesterday with Sly Sparkane, and the main part of the hangout was your challenge for him to answer a specific question about the land that he denied seeing, and he ran away when you got to your presentation. What gives?
I don't know. I was gobsmacked. Sly's not one for running away, and he definitely ran away. Do you want to present my screen, and I'll just run through the slides quick?
Yeah, sure.
There is 30 slides, but most slides will only be on the screen for a couple of seconds.
Just do it. Just get straight into it.
This is a back and forth with Sly over months, and for those that are not aware, it goes back to the Isle of Man when we had the Isle of Man argument over Christmas. It goes back to when the footage was caught. And my claim was that Sly will not answer a simple question about the spheroid Earth, and the question is, why can we see the land? So what I did was, if I work out how to get through this, there we go. 8 months ago, I released a video on my channel, which was Flat Earth Island from England Explain This with Evidence. And the question in the video was, what was the land? Now, there clearly is land on the picture. My question was, what was the land? I'd been home, checked the date, the height on it, and we shouldn't have seen it based on the preliminary research that I'd done. And I keep playing this because it's important that Sly cannot answer this question why can we see the land? And it's the same land in question. So when I put the curve calcs up at 34 miles and on 100 feet of observer height, which was at the time, they brought back the tippy tops of it, and we weren't seeing the tippy tops of it. We were seeing a big chunk of it, but they claimed victory on that point, and the point was lost, but it was never concluded. Sly said to me, well, why didn't you go back and get it from the beach? So as you can see, 2 months ago, I went back to the beach and I lay on my belly and I got the same land, but from the beach, which is a problem because this is the land in question. And at 1:19 in the video, you see it. The land is in the video. And at the time, Sly's view was, I can't see that land. I don't think it's there. So I thought, well, Sly can't answer the simple question on our spheroid Earth. Why can we see the land? Well, he was pretending that he couldn't see it. So, all right, fair play. The weather wasn't as good as what it should be. I knew that I would get better weather. You can see that there's mist coming in from the south. I knew that I would get better weather, so I thought, summer's coming. I'll go back when the weather's better, and I'll see it. And even from on the beach, though, at 34 miles, we're talking like, well, really, the drop value is what is relevant here, but he wouldn't accept it. He wanted the hidden. But either way, who cares? 605 feet of hidden, or even 508 feet of hidden, doesn't bring back anything of that land. The land's only 250 feet on average right across the picture. So it's like more than double. So when I went back to the beach and I got the land, he was like, yeah, Riley, where's Ramsey? Now Ramsey's off to the left and it's significantly lower. So I thought, right, well, I'll go back and I'll see if I can get it. So a couple of days ago, brought a video out that said if Ramsey, Earth, flat, aimed at Sly. And in the video, you can see the same land which on the right of the picture, but we also see there's land here. Now, you may not see it in the hangout, but there's a zoom in of the land on the right, but there is land on the left too. So again, we're back to the question. Sly cannot answer a simple question about our spheroid Earth. Why can we see the land? Now, as we're getting to this point, I point out the distance, and he agrees that 32 miles, 34, it's 32 to the coast, but the land in the background is more inland. And he agreed that 34 miles was the relevant distance. And we can see lovely island shots in the background, but we can see the topography of the land here shows that the coast is here, but the height goes off on an angle going into the distance. That's where the 34 miles comes from. Anyway, he agreed. But again, there's the numbers that are involved, big numbers here. And the land we're looking at is 250 feet. So it's well behind the curvature of the Earth on their model. But what's interesting is in the picture, we have this seashell thing, but then we have another set of land to the left. And when we look at the image, we see the seashell thing, and then the other set of land is just literally, it's here. Now, my claim is that we're seeing them two pieces of land, and I'm saying, Sly can't answer this. Why can we see the land? And what I've done was I said, if we see the seashell and we see the other land, that gives us a scale, and we can put the values in. But the problem is 250 feet of the higher land, the horizon is supposed to be 508. So if you're a ball boy, then you've got to believe that the horizon is above the point that we see it by some way. The horizon that you see here should be up here somewhere, and none of this should be seen. And I got to this point, and he responded by saying, are you going to claim that you can make any observations or measurements or conclusions on a mirage? And I was like, well, we see it. And it's not a mirage because of what elements of mirage are in the picture. And he basically wouldn't accept the evidence that he was presented with because he didn't want my conclusions that resulted from the evidence. He didn't want to argue them. Now, the answer is, well, we see this land and you did ask me to go back for it. And I did. I went back and I got it. Can you answer the question? So we started to implement the values. And as you can see, the hidden value, we ended up applying the 508 feet because that's where he demanded that I applied it. So I did. I applied 508 feet, as you can see. But because we've got an element of scale in the picture, we know that this is basically where the horizon should be, and he wouldn't apply it. So these numbers basically bit him on the arse, and he couldn't deal with it. Now, that was where I got kicked. I thought he was going to go down the perspective route and say, well, what's blocking out the rest of the land? And I was going to argue it's the waves. Small waves in the foreground affect things in the background as these droplets of water obscure the whole shoreline that Ranty picked. So I was going to argue perspective, but I didn't get to that point. So that point was lost. We fell at this point, 508 feet. That's where the horizon should be. And I got to this slide and I said, so come on, Sly, why can we see the land? And he literally kicked me out and rage quitted on me. And that was the conclusion of my thing. I had an Lumen example, it didn't get to it. And this is what his post hangout was. At the end of the day, I gave Riley 10 minutes, right? It was supposed to be the main event, and the turbines point that we spent a lot of time on should have been a footnote, because it wasn't even my work. It was his work against Chris Monk's work, and whoever's right or wrong is irrelevant. In this context against Sly, it should have been a footnote. Yeah, mention it in passing, find out what the issue is, come back to it if we have to. But he made that into the main event, and in doing so, gave me just 10 minutes. And I was like, I don't think so. We're not having 10 minutes. But anyway, he began his presentation, which didn't get to a point in any hurry.
Sorry
and even after the 10 minutes...
Sorry to interrupt. That was comical, because this is, we're taking this in our stride at the moment, you especially, and you were like, yeah, you're going to have to give me a couple of minutes. I'm eating chicken. I'm really hungry. So it's like your attitude towards this was, yeah, I've got this covered. I can take a little break. I'm even eating my dinner. His attitude was, you must acknowledge, you must accept. And then he started on the ad hominems, and it's like, whoa, Sly, calm down, mate. What do you mean 10 minutes? What's the rush? You know what I mean?
He did indeed start on the ad homs, because I even pointed it out. And the minute somebody starts ad homing you with personal insults, that's when they're losing. And if the other person points out that the ad homs are coming in, that's where the audience should realize that at the point of ad hom, that guy's losing. And that's what happened. But anyway, he says, even after the 10 minutes, he chimed in with using a superior mirage, of which there is no evidence that this is a mirage at all, as something to get a specific measurement from. That's when I bid him a good night. Well, kicked me, because that level of ignorance is just too much. I've had to do a typographical correction here because he's a bit illiterate. But anyway, and then starting a sentence with and. But anyway. And to be fair, if Sean, Red, Soundly, Rumpus, NASA, Neil deGrasse Tyson came to me trying to use figures in a mirage, which you can't prove, as any kind of precision height measurement, yeah, I said it was an estimate, a guide, other than to display what they are not usable as height measurements, I would cast them off my channel as well, because that level of moronic claim has no place on my channel. Well, ultimately, Sly,
the whole of the Isle of Man is a mirage in their model. The whole composite that we argued about, that entire thing is a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena. The entire thing. None of it's where it should be. None of it's where it's supposed to be. It's all in a different location. It's not direct line of sight with anything. You're talking curved lines and mirages in their model. Even though we just see it, even though it's just there, according to them, it's all mirage. The whole, all of it. Not just this. Yeah. The whole island is a mirage. So for him to claim, oh, well, I'm not going to talk about it because it's mirage. In your model, it's all mirages, right? So why don't you just say that so we can laugh at you?
Well, at the end of the day, the evidence shows that there is land here, which he does acknowledge now. It took him a while, but he does acknowledge it. But there's also land here. And let's say I'm wrong on the identification of it. He could have tried to misidentify it or re-identify it on my behalf. But there is evidence in the picture that needs to be explained, and he will not accept it. So the evidence he would not accept needs to be addressed. So when I put the lines in, it's game over. And he had to kick me because he will not address why the horizon down here is not where it should be on their model, which is somewhere up here. All right, I'll give you a couple of pixels either way. But fundamentally, we're seeing 250 feet, right? We should be seeing 508 feet of hidden. That puts all this land behind the curve, and basically it puts this line here where the horizon should be. And he couldn't address it. He didn't address it. And ultimately, my claim was true. Sly cannot answer a simple question on our spheroid Earth. Why can we see the land? Should not be able to see it on the beach in any way, and we can see it, and it's there. It's not a mirage. It's not a. I don't know what he didn't even argue any of these points. He kicked me out because he basically argued that I can't use it because I can't say with accuracy what it is. And I'm like, don't think so, Sly. So he kicked me out, which is effectively Sly running.
Yeah, very disappointing. I mean, I think you and I both agreed afterwards. It's like that was the last thing we were expecting to happen.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever known Sly not at least what he should have done? What the minimum I expected was Sly to find an angle, argue it, and claim victory. That's what I expected, right? But he didn't even find an angle. He just dismissed it and ran. There's no other word to describe it. He kicked me out the hangout, and I wasn't losing my temper. But there was no swearing. He had started on the ad homs, and I had pointed them out. But we were talking. It was heated, but we were talking, not swearing. And there was no reason to kick me out other than he can't answer the question.
And he can't. It's there.
No.
Because the Earth is flat. And the only way you're going to get around that is to beg the question, apply refraction, twist the maths a little bit more, add a bit more refraction, and then you might bring it back. You know, it's not you claiming it's a mirage, it's him. And he's using that as his excuse to leave. It's like, what are you talking about? The amount of times we see people measuring quote-unquote mirages is untrue.
Yeah.
They're not mirages, it's just stuff that we see. But that's what they claim. And then they start measuring it.
Well, I mean, you can interpret it however you want, Sly, and you can claim victory however you want, because you have to. That's what you will do, of course. I would do the same. But the bottom line, the nuts and bolts of the argument was that you could not answer a simple question on the shape of the Earth. And when you were presented with evidence to the contrary of your opinion, you did not address it. You ran. So make of that what you will, ladies and gentlemen, but Sly ran.
How would a naval battleship...
Brave, so slow.
Say again, Arwin? Say again, Arwin?
I said he bravely ran away. Brave Sly Sparkane.
Running. There's a song in there.
No.
He was doing Monty Python.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's Monty Python. Brave Sir Robin.
Brave Sir Robin ran away.
Brave Sly Sparkane ran away.
That's it.
Yep. Well, that was, like I said, Nathan and I spoke afterwards, and like of all the potential ways that hangout could have gone, that wasn't even on the radar. I mean, I've never known Sly do that to anybody. So, shout out to Sly Sparkane for running. Oh, I forgot to show the final slide, Nathan. It was the best one as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to read it.
Yeah, on the other hand, he did have to face like the three-headed giant Riley. So it's not that strange that he had to run away.
The final slide as well, which I didn't present. Nathan, am I on?
Yeah.
The final slide. I'm sorry, Nathan, but look, this is the best slide of the lot, because ultimately, the little worm that he was, my Spider-Man, my Superman, my Superman laser eyes destroyed you, Sly. You know it. We know it. Everybody saw it.
Very good.
Very enjoyable. Have to say so. Now, do we need an?
Oh, got a troll in already.
Bloody hell. Do we have an APB out for Ranty? All Points Bulletin. Is he going to make an appearance, do we think?
I just Skyped him saying, are you free? We really want you, Ranty. Flavour of the month, mate. Come back.
I was just going to say, come back in my Kate Winslet style on Titanic. Have you seen the trailer for Titanic 2?
You mentioned that. No, I don't see many trailers for anything, if I'm honest, but go on.
It's something to do with cryogenics. It looks... I've only seen snippets because they show it as really quick, single frames, still frames, and very short clips, but it looks like they've got a block of ice. Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. They cut him out of it and cryogenically bring him back to life. And he now lives his life as though he's been rescued from the ice blocks, like the proverbial... what's the thing that the aardvarks, or what they called it? The woolly mammoth. So he's going to come back as like a woolly mammoth kind of thing from the... Oh, that's great. I'm well looking forward to that.
Really? It sounds absolutely terrible.
Oh, that's great. You have to suspend reality for a bit while you watch it.
Just a little bit, right?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's a bit like Gravity with Sandra Bullock. If you're prepared to go in there and like just let yourselves be brainwashed by it, it's a really good film. If you go in there as a conspiratard flat earther or a ball earther, you're going to come out of it and go, that can't bloody well do that.
I agree with that.
Hey, was, not was. How you doing?
Hi, Nathan. Shit.
Good to see you.
Was, not was.
Was, not was.
Yeah, I changed it. Yeah, I changed it this morning from Warren Bray because she kicked me out the other day.
Oh, did we?
Thinking I was a troll. I'm not a troll.
Yeah, if you join in at the wrong time when other certain troll accounts, you end up getting tarred with their brush, unfortunately. It's the downside of not having an echo chamber.
Well, hopefully was not was will
Hey,
hi, Nathan.
Hello. Hello.
Mr. Meakin, did you watch Sly Sparkane last night?
I'm just catching up on it now, mate. Obviously, we had the show last night, and we were delaying it. We delayed the show because we knew you were fighting. Josh was saying he's kicking off. He's just going mental at him. So
Well, He ran at the end. He kicked me.
We were delayed a bit, so I'm just catching up on this morning. And now Nathan started. Just going to after the England match now, mate. Before. Yeah.
Well, the moment was fab because he kicked me and somehow claimed a victory at the end of it. But I mean, you make your own mind up.
I'm 19 minutes in, and I'm just thinking, what's this?
Well, to be honest, he laboured that point on the turbines for an hour, and numerous times I said to it, "Come on, this isn't even my area of expertise." And he even credited me with not having any expertise on it. Yet somehow we managed to get an hour on it, and in the end, I just said, "Come on, this isn't even why I'm here. Let's deal with the point for why I'm here, and get on to the main event." And then he brings open a 10-minute timer, and I'm like, "What are you doing? 10 minutes for the main event? I don't think so." So he gave me about 12, and then he kicked me because he couldn't answer the question. But I just fast forward the turbines point because
I've said this already, but at that moment you're like, you just probably a second or two earlier said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to give me a few minutes. I'm eating chicken." It's like so nonchalant about this whole thing while he's all stressed and full of adrenaline. You're like, "I'm eating chicken." Yeah, you're gonna have to give me a bit more than 10 minutes. And he was like, "No." I was like, "All right, then I'm off then. See ya." And he was like, "Well, no, you can do your presentation." 10 minutes later, right, bye.
Yeah, he did. What he did was he tactically blocked me by dwelling on something that should have been a footnote. He dwelled on that for an hour and 10 minutes, and then basically tried to make me run out of time for the main event. And I was like, I'm not having that. It was a tactical block, but
one thing I did like, in the end. Anthony, was there was a part in it where you were both discussing his model of the turbines, and you were trying to explain that when they blame me. Can you hear us?
That's troll.
Anyway, and he was trying to bring the maths down. Hey, Jose, to 2 miles.
Morning. What you're seeing here is a mirage.
So what he's trying to do is he's trying to bring the distance down to 2 miles, so you don't have the effect of the exponential curve, which is obviously what you would see if you were actually on a sphere, which we are not. And by doing so, he's obviously reduced or negated the amount of curve that you would be seeing. So while you're explaining that, well, no, despite being zoomed in, you're still having the effect because it's a 13-mile observation and not a 2-mile observation. But he keeps reducing it to the length of the turbines themselves, which are pictured in the 13-mile observation. Now, side on, the way to actually show the exponential curvature is to have the full 13 miles shown in side profile, so you can actually see the full extent. So it's a bit... My depiction of this is spurious. I'll just put my hands in the air and admit it and say, well, I am showing the side elevation of just the profile of those turbines. In other words, all I'm showing, it'll come up on this screen reel, intentionally, because I'm just showing the turbines in side profile, so they're about the same size, so it visually looks good. But in reality, in terms of how the maths breaks down, you can't have it both ways. You can't have them built on an exponential curve and have them built on a minor curve. But it's a bit spurious for us to reference specifically the 2-mile stretch in side profile and say it should match the X and the Y, because in the Z, you're seeing an exponential drop at 13 miles. But this ultimately demonstrates how the maths breaks down. We should see the exponential curvature. We don't see the exponential curvature from either axis because there is no curvature, and when you look down the line, you only see the effects of perspective. Now, as Ranty's not here, I will give him another plug and say in his most recent video, he's demonstrated this beautifully, because in the 11 to 13 mile turbines, it's obviously closer than the ones behind at 20 to 22 miles. And the 20 to 22 mile observation of the turbines in the background on Ranty's latest video, Ranty Flat Earth, check him out and subscribe, you can see that there's no difference in terms of the amount of perspective that is affecting these turbines, as you would exactly expect them to have perspective affecting them, because you're looking at things getting further and further away. But there's no exponential curve. So even between the 10 miles between the two different observations, there should be exponential curvature, and there isn't. But in total, the observation is over 20 miles. Therefore, you should definitely be seeing huge amounts of exponential curve on the further turbines than on the near turbines. The reality being, there isn't any. There's just the effects of perspective.
The reality is the angle of inclination is the same on both of them, and that's the ball breaker. That's what the point we was labouring last night at the end of the show. We again I think it's a great point. So we raised it last night again because it's that double picture of the two. For me, that just demonstrates it. Because if they do want to have the ball maths in there, they want to have the curve in there, then those two lines should demonstrate it with different angles of inclination.
Absolutely.
And therefore that picture just clearly demonstrates exactly what it's showing, which is just the effects of perspective on a flat plane.
It's interesting because we were chatting with Dawn.
Hello.
We were chatting with John last night, and just by coincidence, we got onto this subject, of course. And you and John had been having an identical conversation to Anthony and I at the same time, just without us saying to each other. We're both discussing this exact element of this sort of conflation of the Z and the x-axis in terms of how you explain the curvature and how the maths ultimately falls apart as a result of it. But we all came to the same conclusion at the same time. It was just nice.
The interesting bit there, Nathan, was me and John were discussing where are they going to try and take the maths to pervert it? And they've done exactly what we predicted, which is to try and take the curvature beginning from the first turbine to the last. So they're only applying the curvature to a 2 mile stretch as opposed to the starting point of 20.
Sorry.
And it's all useless. It's just looming. And these ballers are just so desperate to actually see their calculations, actually see them, while they should know better. They should know that it is technically impossible because it is all looming into a flat plane. But they just can't help it. They want their calculations to become visual. They want to grasp their fantasy. But they should know better, because even by their own standards, they should know that it is impossible to see because it is all looming into a flat plane.
What you just said then was exactly what it is. They want their mathematics to be matching reality, but they don't.
No. They want it to be visual. They want to grasp it. While they should know better, even within their belief, because it is all looming into a flat plane. Because it has to be, because that is what the measurements say. But they're just desperate to grasp it, just like they believe so much in space.
This
and
is
satellites.
a nice
They just want to
opportunity.
imagine that they can go
Great
there.
opportunity, Arwin, to talk over you and correct you and say, no, Arwin, that's wrong. The maths breaks apart massively beyond the distances that we're talking. So while you're saying it matches, it looms into a flat plane by virtue of, obviously, the refracted hidden. So by virtue of that refracted hidden value, they're saying that it looms into a flat plane or similar to a flat plane. Sorry, can someone kick this troll out? Oh, we're getting trolled a little bit. Can we have a couple of guests join just to stop these trolls interrupting us temporarily? But ultimately, what I was going to say was the maths breaks down at a much more fundamental level beyond a certain distance, because if it's a ball, you have exponential curvature build-up at a certain distance, but you don't see any exponential curve, you just see the perspective. So the further you go, the worse it gets for the maths. They break down worse and worse as you get to greater distances, and that's precisely what Ranty's demonstrated. It's a shame he's not here to just talk us through it and show us, but I don't want to bring it up without him actually being here, because it's his brand spanking new footage, and I want him to actually talk about it and detail it himself. Yeah, just one more nod to the audience if we can get somebody to join just to stop the trolling, because in the meantime, it's just going to be me jabbering on about Ranty's fantastic new footage while we get trolled to all hell. So yes, hopefully a floater will join from the audience to just stay quiet and stop the trolling. We shall see. In the meantime, enjoy the dulcet tones. Hi Mel, are you a real person?
Yeah. Keep that one in. It's friendly.
Right. Just
Cool.
pop yourself on mute.
So what I was trying to say is purely from the global belief perspective. And I know that their math doesn't really match the observations, but they should know this, that it doesn't match observations, because it is all looming. There's optical effects all over the place, because it has to be, because it is the only way you can actually get the math to fit. But because in their heart, they just want it to be graspable. They want it to be physical. They want to see their math. They keep on falling back into primitive approaches, trying to make it real, while they should know that by their own mathematical religion, it is impossible. to observe because it is all looming into a flat plane. They just can't help it. They can't help but
This is
fall
not
back
true.
into their childish behavior of wanting to make it graspable. They want to hug the ball. They can't because it is all optically bent into a flat plane because of looming. They just can't help falling back into the more childish approach. They just can't help it.
The childish approach.
Yeah, the childish approach. Yeah.
Did we
Because you
speak
should
about
know better. You should know that you can't
What do you think's more
optically
childish?
measure it.
Working out
You
with maths
can't
or
make the
making it up?
calculations
Just
work.
make it up.
You can't make it visually bend into a curvature because optics doesn't work that way by your own standard.
I
Because
think
it
your theory
has
is
to
more
be
childish.
looming, but you just
Armin,
can't help
stop talking so
imagining it.
much.
You just can't help
Yours are more
imagining
childish, Owen,
to
because
be
you make
there.
them up. You make them up like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah. Go shoot up some more.
That's
drugs,
more
dude.
childish. Why do you keep talking about drugs to me anyway?
That's a great
That's a bit
rebuttal.
bit nasty.
Great rebuttal there, Dawn.
You what?
Did we
Great
talk
rebuttal.
about the hangout with Anthony and Sly? Did we talk about that already?
So I'm not going to
Yes.
insult you personally, Owen. I'm trying not to do that anymore.
Yeah, we did talk
we
about
have we have mentioned it. He ran. Sly kicked me and wouldn't answer the question.
No, you guys spoke for like an hour and some change. I don't think he ran.
Anthony challenged him to a hangout about a specific thing that he hasn't answered, and Sly has specifically challenged Anthony to go and get the footage he has got. That was the topic that Anthony challenged Sly on. Then Sly took an hour over a side topic.
Which he was correct about.
No, he
Who
wasn't.
cares whether he was correct or not? It was a footnote.
Well, no. Let's just put that to bed. Have you seen Ranty's latest video, Milo?
No.
Oh, well, might be an idea to check that out, as it absolutely takes a big fat steaming pile of crap on what Sly asserts.
I doubt it.
Oh, well, it's a real
Well,
image of
Yeah,
wind turbines going further and further into the distance. But what we see is the standard effect of perspective, something which the calculator completely and totally ignores, by the way. You don't account for perspective. It doesn't really exist because things stay the same size, even though we see them getting smaller according to your calculations. Nevertheless, we see them getting smaller with distance at the same rate. Yeah? So the ones that you've seen already at 13 miles are some further away. Should be exponentially more curved, but they're not. They just look exactly the same. The effect of perspective affects them in the same way, just
Have you done the
smaller
maths?
because they're further away. Again,
Have you
something
done
which
the
you do not.
Maths.
Again,
Maths.
something which you
Did you
don't
do the
account for.
maths?
Maths.
Who's doing
Oh,
that?
the maths.
You not see
Don, we see it. We don't do math. Yeah, I mean, I don't do math. You don't do math, Don. Personally, Jose and Don, we don't do math. We see things, bro. We analyze them and we see
So
it. We
you
figure it
don't
out.
see
We
the
flat, bro.
exponential curve, and that's it. You don't do the math. You just don't see it.
Oh, the maths.
All right, what
I mean-
math? What math, Dawn? The math tells us that we don't see the stuff. It's not really there. That's what the math does. So when you say you don't do the math, all the math's doing is telling you that something you can actually see, that we don't need to do any math on. We just look at it, it's there. The math tells you it's not there, Dawn.
Maybe the exponential curve is there if you do the math.
Maybe it's there, even though we don't see it. Right, Dawn? Yeah, we don't need to do any maths. We can just look at this stuff. You need to do maths to tell us that it's all a mirage.
Nature's variable. Mirages happen, you know this.
Done.
Yeah, the entire Isle of Man is a mirage, according to you idiots. The lighthouse that isn't there, Dawn? Did you forget that little episode where we humiliated you? Do you forget these things really fast? You think the lighthouse isn't really there, mate. You think it's a figment of your imagination.
I think it's really there.
No, you don't. You think it's not there, Dawn. What part of this aren't you getting? You don't think it's there.
Of course it's there.
No, it's not there. It's blocked by Earth curve. There's a bloody wall in the way. I went through this with you and absolutely ripped you a new one, Dawn. There's a wall in the way. You can't see it. It's not there. If you do the maths. If you just look at the picture, you see it and it's obviously bloody
I
there.
know what you mean. It's looming a bit, so it's not
Not
where-
looming, we just see it. That's what your maths tells you. Your maths tells you to say, I don't really see this. It's blocked by Earth curve and looming. That's what the maths does. You don't need that to look at a picture of something. You can just look at it and go, nice buildings.
So you're just going to ignore that totally and just decide
Ignore
it's
what? You're telling us it's not there.
Dawn, your own eyes are telling you it's flat.
Your own eyes tell you see something, and you're saying, are you going to ignore the maths that tells you it's not really there? Yeah, Dawn, I'm going to completely ignore that utter horseshit.
My eyes see enough so that I don't.
Yeah, they see the lighthouse, but you don't really see it, Dawn, because your maths says you don't see it. It's not really there. Yeah? What aren't you getting? You say, are you going to ignore the fact that it's not really there according to some mathematical equation that says you can't see something that's obviously on a picture? Is that what you're telling me I'm ignoring? Ignoring the fact that it's not there, even though it's actually there on a picture and everybody can see it and it's displayed to an audience. I should ignore that or not ignore that. I'll ignore it. Thanks.
When you say there it is, it is.
Yeah, there it is. It's on a picture. You see it. It's on a picture. There it is. You're taking a photograph. If you go back a few days later with a different camera and a different person and a different set of weather conditions, and there it is in exactly the same place, Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all your arguments sound strong when you forget all the other evidence and just.
Sorry, sound strong. It's a picture of a bloody lighthouse. It's not like it's some mathematical formula that I'm talking about. It's a picture of something we see, and you completely ignore because the math says it's not really there.
Or the sunset on screen that's half obstructed.
We're not talking about sunset. We're talking about the observations. So
I'd like to talk
we
about
started
that, yeah.
off by talking about wind turbines. Then we started talking about buildings. Now you want to talk about a light in the sky that you know nothing about. Why?
Well, I'd like to just remind you that you ignore lots of globe evidence.
Globe evidence, it's a light in the sky. It's just a light in the sky, Dawn. It's not anything to do with the globe. It's in the sky. Why would you assert that it's globe evidence? I've no idea what that light in the sky is, and neither do you. The only thing you can tell me about it is what other men tell you.
It's physical too.
Dawn, why do you have such a problem believing what your eyes are telling you see in that picture? I don't understand. You see it. It's there. But somebody comes along and does some math. Somebody comes along and does some math and convinces you that it's not there.
I believe it's a real thing.
Sure, but you're really gonna believe that these things are just looming back up.
Yeah.
When you just see it there.
Yeah.
Common sense tells you it's a building far away, right there.
Because of all the other
what other evidence?
If it is all looming up there, then why are you trying to measure the visual drop? Why are you doing that? You know it's all looming up, so it has no use to do that, to keep on trying to get it in there. Because it's all looming into a flat plane, so why do you even keep trying to measure it?
Hold on. I want to reply to that. Hold on. Arwen's got a very good point. I'd like a reply from that from one of the ballers, Milo or Dawn. Hold on, Dawn. He's made a very good point. So you guys make measurements on mirages. How do you feel about that, Dawn?
Some of the time, yeah. Normally when you ask us to.
No, you've got a calculator for doing just that. We've found out from the rumpus.
It's made to debunk flat Earth.
Not made to debunk flat Earth. It's a begging the question fallacy. As soon as you type in the word Earth curve calculator, you're already into begging the question, you idiot. It's not for flat Earth. It's for idiots who want to kid themselves by begging the question that they live on a sphere. It's not for flat earthers. We've got more intelligence than to beg the question.
That's why they exist.
For you idiots that accept that you're on a ball based on somebody telling you you're on a ball with a presupposition. It's an Earth curve calculator. The only result it will ever give you is Earth curve, you idiot.
Yeah.
So you're going to take that back? It's not for flat earthers, it's for you idiots.
It was invented since flat Earth started. That's
yeah,
what...
to make people like you think that you've got a really cracking strong argument, which we have now absolutely dissected and torn to pieces, Dawn. Your calculator's a pile of crap, mate. It doesn't prove a damn thing. It's a begging the question fallacy on steroids.
Done. If this thing was invented for flat Earth, why is that the case? If Earth has a curve, why hasn't it been invented a long time ago?
Because no one was really
don't we use Don't we use Earth's? Don't we use the curve of the Earth for various things?
Chocolate.
We live on the Earth, right?
He just said exactly what's going on, because everyone was basically taking it for granted. They were told it was a globe. Thought, oh yeah, sure, it's a globe. That looks really cool. And yeah, the movies and all, they show the globe, and the news show a globe. So yeah, why not? They just assume it.
Can we
Yeah,
move
but that's what
on?
I'm asking. Like before flat Earth, wouldn't there be a use for the Earth
Yeah,
curve?
there
Like,
was other
wouldn't people need to
calculators.
know if people are supposedly building things on this
I'm assuming
curved
that
Earth
the
and
Water
we're
Business
flying
one and
around
the
the
Midwest one
ball and stuff?
are both
Like,
created
what do we
because of
need
flat Earth.
that? I don't understand why this thing was invented solely for
I
the
mean,
purpose
these
to
two
debunk flat
specific ones,
Earth.
the two
That just
specific
sounds
ones.
suspect to me. I don't know.
Can you hear me?
The equation
Midwest one
existed.
and Water Business one were invented because people started saying Earth is flat.
So they said, right, we'll beg the question, tell them that no matter what equation, what result, what measurement they put into a calculator, it will always tell them it's a sphere and never tell them it's flat. So that's a good solution, right, Dawn? It's for flat earthers. So if anybody suspects that we can see stuff that we shouldn't see, give them a calculation that back calculates perspective and calls it curvature. That's
Nathan,
a good
if
idea,
you took a
is it?
look at the Water Business one, you'd see you can put any radius in you want and you can do perspective.
Comes out with the exact same result as all of the calculators, Dawn. None of them give a different result. None of them account for perspective. You might have a perspective view on one of the calculators, but I assure you, dumbass, it doesn't account for perspective. None of them do. That's how this magic trick works. Yeah? They've taken the net effect of objects getting smaller in the distance because of perspective, and they've relabeled those calculations as curve calcs. That's all they've done. To convince you, not me, not a flat earther. It doesn't convince me of anything. It's a begging the question fallacy. It assumes its outcome. It's already got an R value. It already knows the Earth's a sphere, Dawn, you dumbass. So it's not for me. It's for idiots that don't have critical thinking skills like you.
Oh, I'm not interested in that.
So
Can we move
Don,
on?
nobody would have had a reason to calculate the Earth curve before people started saying the Earth was
No
flat.
one said that, Chocolate.
Chocolate. The
Yes.
equation existed. The equation
What
already
equation?
existed. For the curve of the Earth. The calculator just makes it easy for normal people to
Beg the question. Yeah, it makes it really easy for them to have the outcome assumed for them before making a single calculation. In fact, just in the title, it says Earth curve.
And then you add all that non-standard refraction and all
But
those little fudge
no.
numbers here and there. So, you know.
That's right. When it doesn't work, Chocolate, they just flatten it out. Sorry, Jose. When they find that it doesn't actually match an observation, they slap another layer of bullshit on and say, well, we'll take that original presupposition of R, and then we'll do another mathematical equation to flatten it out a bit. 7/6R. We'll call it refraction, because we see those effects. So who's going to disagree, right? Oh, well, we will, when we demonstrate unequivocally that the effects of perspective are the only effects that we see. We don't see curvature, especially not exponential curvature, which you would expect if you were on a ball,
You do,
which we're not.
man.
Yeah, you have a good laugh. We're tearing you guys a new asshole at the moment, Milo. So you can laugh it up, mate. We're showing your calculator for what it is. It's just a perspective calculator that's had a few of the labels changed. But you can laugh it up all you like. Must be humiliating for you and your globe belief.
No, it's not.
Confused
It's
again, Dom.
humiliating for you.
Either it's
I'm not
looming
embarrassed.
into a flat plane and you see it like it is flat, so no visuals of drops or curve,
Unless you
or
go
it
upwards,
isn't
Owen.
and it is dropping. So which
Unless you
one
go
is it?
upwards.
Which one is it, Don? I know it's very confusing to you, but which one is it?
Which
Is
one
it
is
looming into a flat plane or is it not looming into
No,
a
it
flat
looms.
plane?
It doesn't loom into a flat plane. That's
Oh, so it's not. Oh,
So how can we can see those buildings then, Dawn? Because they're all figments of your imagination, according to the fact that it's looming itself into a flat plane, exactly as Arwen's asserted. So you seem to have
it
a bit of a
doesn't loom
cognition.
itself into a flat
Seem to
plane.
have a bit of a cognition break, Dawn. You've just told us you accept. Why would you deny that when the math says these things aren't really there, but they are there? Why would you deny that mathematical nonsense? Now
I
you're
didn't, I
saying
didn't.
you don't accept that it's looming up into a flat plane, which is precisely what you're saying when you say you see things which are blocked by Earth curve, you idiot.
No.
No. No is not an argument, Dawn. Yeah? You can say no, but the reality is your world's looming up into a flat plane. That's why we see stuff and you think it's mirages. We just say we see it. Occam's razor. Very simple. We see it because it's there. You say, when I apply this mathematics, the mathematics tells me it's not really there. It's blocked by a curve we don't see. But we do see it because it's miraging up into a flat plane.
No.
No. Okay, Dawn. You don't have to like your bullshit, yeah? Your math says there should be a ball in the way. There is no ball in the way, there's just perspective. But when that becomes a problem, they just flatten it out a bit more with maths. That's what happens with 7/6R, mate. Yeah, and when that becomes an even bigger problem, yeah, they flatten it out even more for things like radar. So they'll just flatten it out with maths. Doesn't matter that you never see the ball in the way.
When you're a globe believer and you use the calculator or believe in the calculator, yes, everything is looming to you. Everything has been loomed around.
No, it's not always looming.
Yeah, Dawn, we see stuff, right? I just said this. The whole of the Isle of Man, according to you idiots, is a looming effect. So all of it is having light bent at various different rates into a different position where it is not located. Yeah, it's all looming.
Maybe. I haven't done the maths, but maybe.
You haven't done the maths? Who cares? You don't need to do any maths. Just look at the picture of stuff that's there and say to yourself, does this demonstrate lots of effects of mirages? Well, no, it just looks like the building. So I'll do the maths.
Do you believe everything looms into a flat plane all the time?
No, I just think we see it. We just see it, Dawn. We just look at the picture and see a building and go, building. That's it. End of story for us flat earthers. Very simplistic explanations for stuff. We see a building because we see a building. There's no further explanation required.
Yeah, so what's the explanation when half of it's gone from the bottom?
Because of the low viewing angle.
Narrowing down of the
Can't
field of
see it,
vision,
man.
or
I didn't
obstruction
ask
due
you,
to
Owen.
lack of
I
air
didn't ask
clarity in the
Dungeons and
distance.
Dragons answer, Owen.
Oh yeah, is it really? Really?
Nathan?
Wait, Owen.
Perspective narrowing down of the field of
What's the
vision.
cause
Owen.
that half
Actual
the building's
experiments
gone
that
from
you
the
can do
bottom?
in your living room. That's all fairy tales and dragons. Even though
Owen.
Yeah, no worries. Hold on. We'll get you a physical example. It's a fair enough question, Dawn. We get it asked quite a lot. So if Anthony's around, are you there, Anthony?
Why would I
Why
ask?
would you ask? Why
Hold on
would
a
you ask
second.
if the bottom?
Hold
Why
on.
is the bottom part of the
Hold on.
building missing?
Hold on,
when
hold
the
on.
math tells you the whole thing is supposed to be missing.
Taff, how you
That's
doing?
not a, that doesn't strike a problem for you.
Wait,
Can
this
you hear
is
us,
a
Taff?
hypothetical building.
Dawn,
mate, that
shut
you
up.
can't say the math
Shut
says
up.
It should be gone.
Dawn. Hello, Taff, can you hear us? Hello?
Arwin's been removed, probably a troll.
Oh, I've got a few people being removed. Do with a few more guests. We lost. Who have we lost?
Placeholding. Hello.
Hey, James.
Hello. So, Nathan, do you want to answer my question? Or
What was your question? Go ahead.
so your easy answer is when you see something, it's there. A
Yes.
building, for
Yes.
example. What's the easy answer for why the bottom half is gone?
There is no easy answer other than things obscure the midpoint. So at the point of convergence, if anything intersects that line, it will block your view. Earlier on
From
the
the
show...
From the bottom.
Oh, I'm allowed 10 seconds of an answer, am I? Earlier on this
I
show...
just wanted to repeat
Just
the
shut
question
your
a bit.
mouth! You've asked me a question, you've had people fighting to give you the answer, now there's a break, and everyone starts getting sniped. You don't want to listen to the answer. Right, so we have a narrowing of a field of view. The narrower the field, the narrower the angle to the item, the smaller it becomes. Before that shrinking gets to beyond a certain point, the vanishing point, there is a secondary layer. A layer that runs the full length of the picture, which is called the circle of confusion. A optical effect which will obscure
Well,
things.
we have an easy, simple answer. It's
Oh, right. I was halfway through my answer and you want to give your shithead answer, do you, Dawn? Why don't you shut your mouth? Why don't you shut your mouth and listen to my answer? Are you that ignorant? Are you really that ignorant? Yeah? You want to tell me your dumbass answer like I don't already know?
I'm just saying,
Do you not think I know your retarded answer that you believe in? Yeah? You've asked me a question, I'm giving you an answer, just shut your mouth and listen to it. You're looking at this stuff over water. The water is not stationary. Yeah? It splashes. The more splash, the more it will obscure your view given the distance that you are looking through, because it is above the midpoint. The greater the distance, the greater that band becomes, obscuring things and miraging them, something which you guys can't model, at the horizon. That effect is demonstratable, and we have explained it. I.e., we have spent about the last 6 months looking at exactly this. How the lines of convergence, again, something which you do not take into consideration at all in the maths, and the angle of attack on the target will affect how much obstruction based on how close to the ground you are. I.e., how much or how big the chances are that something in the near foreground can raise up beyond the midpoint. In the case of water, highly likely depending on weather conditions.
Can this be modeled?
Can I ask a follow-up question? What if you're 20 meters above the water and half the building's still gone in the distance? Is that
Yeah,
still
the same
waves?
effect happens as the field of view narrows to 20 miles in the distance from 20 meters up as opposed to on the beach. You still have a narrowing of the field of view at the point of convergence. That's
And you're
why
saying
it's
that obstructs it from the bottom.
yeah, it's a vanishing point. So stuff will vanish based on
The
its
vanishing
angular.
point's in the middle of your vision, not the bottom of a building, isn't it?
Yeah, at the horizon line. At the horizon line, there is an obstruction, a demonstrable, unmodelable by you obstruction that blocks things.
Is it modelable by you?
It's on a photograph. What the bloody hell are you talking about? Why do I need to model reality when I can see it in a picture?
The vanishing point doesn't obstruct half a building.
Yeah,
from
it does. We see it in the bloody pictures. Yeah? You can't model it, Dawn. We've had Philip attempting to model it. Yeah, he can bring stuff back from beyond the curve with 7.6R, but he can't model a mirage that's actually there. The only actual effects of miraging are the very thing. Why are you talking? You bunch of ignorant assholes. Milo, shut your mouth and listen to the explanation, or I'll just kick you out. You're a wanker.
One True Morty, you got a lot of feedback coming. So if you're not
Do I?
speaking, maybe you should, yeah. If you're not speaking, just maybe mute.
So, if anything crosses that midpoint, which gets narrower and narrower towards the point of convergence, you will get a layer, a band, which will obscure things. That layer is demonstrable in all of the photographs where you have a calm enough sea or a high enough angle to see it. Normally, and in most circumstances, it will be obscured by waves, which are higher than the midpoint of convergence, therefore obscuring from the bottom up anything beyond or smaller in angular size than that point of convergence. That is why things disappear from the bottom up, and it is demonstrable, and it is quantifiable, and you ignore viewing angles and angular size in all of your calculations.
Can you model that? Waves?
I don't need to model it, Milo. I've said it twice. Yeah? We've got photographs of it. The picture on screen now, right now, has this running the entire length of the composite image. Every frame of the video contained this band with a refraction, an inferior mirage, if I could say it correctly, an inferior mirage below it.
Right.
Right, well, have you modelled it? Because Philip, who apparently is a PhD, couldn't manage it. The only actual effects of refraction in these images were unmodelable by your... Are you just going to burp over the top of me now, are you, asshole? Time for Milo to go. You are the biggest wanker I've ever had on this panel. Yeah. The effects of miraging, the only actual effects that were visual in the photography, could not be modelled by your PhD globehead with a modelling program and ray tracing. He couldn't do it. He couldn't replicate it. He could bring it all back from beyond the curve with your presupposition of 7.6R, but the actual refractive effects in the picture he could not model. Let's just get that clear. Next time someone says, have you modelled it? Number one, I'll say, I've got a bloody picture of it and I can see stuff. You don't need to tell me what I don't see. And secondly, you idiots on the globe side can only model what you want to model. It coming back from a curve that we don't see. The actual refraction effects are impossible for you guys to model. You can't model an inferior mirage below the midpoint, just above the horizon. You can't do that, bringing it back from beyond the curve. It's too much of a mathematical impossibility to bring to bring an inferior mirage back from beyond the curve. It's an absolute nonsense. These effects are only possible on flat planes with straight viewing lines. The only way you get reflections below themselves are on flat planes. You need a flat surface. That's how these things happen, because we live on a flat plane. You can't model any of these refractive effects. The actual refractive effects in the picture, you are incapable of modelling. Okay? That's globe heads, by the way, just for anybody tuning in that isn't familiar with what's going on here. The flat earthers are bitch slapping these globe heads who can't model refraction.
No, you're not.
Yeah, we are. We are bitch slapping you. If Philip, whatever his name is, the PhD guy, the philosopher, is watching, he is incapable of modelling the actual demonstrated refraction in the imagery. He can't do it. So don't talk to me about your crappy models. I'm not interested in your pseudoscience models, any of them. I've got pictures of stuff.
You think you do?
It's obvious.
No, that's true. We know what it is.
You don't know what the hell the moon is, man.
There is a problem with the perspectives and stuff when people are modeling them, and in the photos that are shown.
You don't understand perspective.
Everything is vertical and plumb to each other, going down the road or across. And if it was on a arcing surface, even 4 inches in a mile or 8 inches in the first mile, etc., buildings could not be plumb to each other in the distance, nor could phone posts going down a road. They would go away like an arcing like fan. They
do. They do that. That's what we observe. That's observed.
See the tilt. Nothing is tilted. Everything is built vertically plumb right across the plane.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what we observe.
Lean away. I have a tower. It's 12 miles away. It should be leaning away from me, even though it's on a mountaintop. It's not. Oh, it's plumb to.
Really, brother? You're just gonna say, "Oh, it is."
Yeah,
absolutely.
Brenda, you're ridiculous.
Everyone 12 miles around me who can see it. It's absolutely plumb.
Yeah, that happens.
Just keep saying
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. But if you liked the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!